Day 87. Joshua chapter 19, 20, 21 and 22. God does not start what he cannot finish. In these chapters, the land is divided, battles are remembered, misunderstandings almost spark war, and yet, through it all, God's faithfulness stands unshaken. Today, we will listen closely, not just to the events, but to the whispers within them. Hidden lessons, quiet truths, and deep encouragement for anyone seeking God in uncertain times. The inheritance of the Simeonites was taken from the share of Judah, because Judah's portion was more than they needed. At first glance, this feels like a simple administrative decision, but look deeper. Judah had more than enough, and instead of hoarding it, their excess became someone else's inheritance. God's blessings in your life are not always just for you. In today's world, we are taught to accumulate, secure, and protect what is ours. But the kingdom operates differently. Sometimes, your overflow is the answer to someone else's prayer. That extra opportunity, that open door, that resource you think is too much, it may not be excess. It may be assignment. Ask yourself, what has God given me that I am holding on to, that someone else needs to step into their purpose? In the second whisper, we will study when what you were given doesn't work out. When the territory of the Danites was lost to them, they went up and attacked Leshem, took it, and settled there. This is uncomfortable. The Danites lost their original inheritance. Let that sink in. Even in God's plan, they experienced loss. But they didn't sit in defeat. They didn't say, maybe God has forgotten us. They moved forward. They fought again. They built again. They claimed again. And they renamed their new place Dan, anchoring their identity, not in loss, but in legacy. Sometimes, God allows disruptions so you can discover resilience. You may have lost something you believed was yours, a job, a relationship, an opportunity, but loss is not the end of your story. Like the Danites, you may need to rise again and take hold of something new. And when you do, don't name your life after your pain, name it after your purpose. Have you encountered a time when grace makes room for your mistakes? That will be our next whisper for the day. If the avenger of blood comes, the elders must not surrender the fugitive, because the killing was unintentional. This is about the cities of refuge. God created a system where someone who made a mistake, not out of malice, could find safety. Because many people today live under the weight of guilt for things they did not fully intend, words spoken in anger, decisions made in ignorance, moments they wish they could undo. And yet, God says, there is a place for you. A place where you are not defined by your worst moment. A place where justice and mercy meet. God does not treat accidental failure the same as intentional rebellion. And even more, He builds systems of grace ahead of your mistakes. So instead of running from God in shame, run toward Him for refuge. Each of these towns had pasturelands surrounding it. It sounds like a small detail, pasturelands, but this was about sustainability, food, livelihood, daily provision. God didn't just assign cities, He provided what was needed to live well in them. God is not only concerned with your destination, He cares about your daily survival. Sometimes we think God only shows up in big moments, miracles, breakthroughs, dramatic answers. But He is also in the quiet provisions, the food on your table, the strength to keep going, the ideas that sustain your work. Do not overlook the pasturelands in your life. They are evidence that God is thinking about your tomorrow. When God keeps every promise is the theme for the whisper we will be focusing on next. Not one of all the Lord's good promises to Israel failed. Everyone was fulfilled. This is one of the most powerful declarations in Scripture. Not one failed. Not some. Not most. Not one. Imagine standing at the end of a long journey and realizing everything God said came to pass. Delay is not denial. God's promises may take time. They may pass through seasons of uncertainty. They may even look impossible at times. But if God said it, He will do it. Hold on. Trust deeper. Wait with expectation. Because God has a perfect record, and He has never broken a promise. In the following whisper, we are able to encounter when misunderstanding almost destroys unity. The whole assembly gathered to go to war against them. This is intense. The Israelites were ready to fight their own people. Why? Because they misunderstood the altar that had been built. They assumed rebellion, without seeking understanding. How often do we do the same? In families, in workplaces, in communities, we see an action and immediately assign a negative intention. Not every action you don't understand is an act of rebellion. Sometimes it's miscommunication. Before reacting, ask. Before judging, listen. Before fighting, seek clarity. Because many battles we fight today were never meant to happen. Far be it from us to rebel against the Lord. The tribes of Reuben, Gad and the half-tribe of Manasseh responded with humility. They explained their intention. They weren't building a rival altar. They were building a reminder, a witness. Please, learn from this. Live in such a way that you can explain your actions with a clear conscience. People may misunderstand you, they may question your motives, but if your heart is right before God, you don't need to react with anger. You respond with truth. Are there moments when you need a reminder of what you believe? Here is another whisper to ponder on. A witness between us, that the Lord is God. They named the altar witness, not for sacrifice, but for remembrance, because they knew something about human nature. We forget. We forget what God has done. We forget who He is. We forget what we once believed so strongly, so they built something to remind them. Create reminders of your faith. It could be a journal, a testimony, a habit of prayer, a moment you revisit when doubt creeps in. Because faith is not just about knowing, it's about remembering. Today's chapters are messages of deep hope. God provides more than enough. God restores after loss. God makes room for human weakness. God cares about your daily needs. God fulfills every promise. God calls us to understanding, not division. God honors sincerity, and God invites us to remember Him. So wherever you are today, waiting, rebuilding, questioning, or believing, hold on to this truth. The God who fulfilled every promise to Israel is still the God who finishes what He starts in you.